Dio slipped the vial quickly into his coat.
Oh, don't worry. I'll keep it safe. I'll even give it back to you later.
When it's empty, I guess. No, not later. Give it back now.
I don't think so. If you want it back, you're gonna have to listen to my request.
Request?
Yeah, that's what I said. If you want this back, in the next AB game, you have to choose ally.
Oh, and he will choose betray. Ally? Wait, is that why you took the medicine to blackmail me?
That's horrible! You're using Quark's life as leverage!
Yeah. I don't put it behind Dio to do it though.
Well, I've got some really good reasons to do so.
Yeah, to increase your points so you can leave.
I'll be happy to give it back if you just do what I say.
I didn't realize until they started to hurt that I'd curled my hands into fists. If Dio would only give me an opening.
I wouldn't try and take it back by force if I were you. You make any sudden moves and I'll smash it.
And I don't put it past you. He patted his pocket gently.
Oh, and one more thing. Don't tell those other idiots that you found some Excelavir in here. I hear one word about it, and the next thing you hear will be little bits of glass shattering on the floor.
Damn it.
That's not fair.
He's playing with people's lives just to increase his points.
This game isn't about compassion. It's not about being clever.
Everyone is able to leave, Dio.
It's about one thing. How well you can manipulate people to your advantage.
Why?
Unfair you can be.
Why though? They've made it clear that everyone is able to leave. So why are you manipulating everyone to increase your own points to be able to leave and lock everyone else in?
So, what are you gonna do? Ready to promise me you'll pick ally?
Fine. I'll promise.
Sigma!
I promise. I do get to choose as well. This leaves me in a big dilemma. I was so looking forward to betraying him. So I was going to choose ally this time to get the better option next time. But with him playing with Quark's life like this, I don't know if that will be the better option.
I knew you'd say it eventually. I'm glad you understand how this works. But don't think about trying anything funny. Break your promise and, well, you know what happens. See you chumps later. I'm really looking forward to the next round.
With one last self-satisfied chuckle, Dio strutted out of the room.
Are you really going to do what he says?
Yeah.
Sigma, you've only got one BP right now.
Oh.
If we choose ally and he chooses betray...
I know. I'll drop to -1 and that means I'll get penalized.
But that means...
Look, it's not like I want to, alright? If we don't do as he says, then he'll destroy the medicine. If he does that, then Quark will...
So you're going to die to save his life? That's...
Wow, Dio!
Why would you do that?
In all honesty, I was terrified. My choice was far from a foregone conclusion. Well, we should get back to the upper floor. Everybody else is probably finished already. I bet they're waiting for us. I didn't wait for Clover's response. Or Dio may be, like, this is my hopes, Dio might be wanting to get the most points he can without killing. Therefore, he's blackmailing us to go ally, so he can go ally as well, and he can get 2 points. If he goes betray, he'll get 3, but I'd die.
An ambidex gate has been opened. 45 minutes remain until ambidex game polling closes.
I think
Sorry.
I've got to do how I've done the rest of it so far. Do the betray first.
I went ahead and cracked it open a bit early.
Of course, Dio. In one of his hands was a moon key. He twirled it around like a veteran gambler, grinned and slid it back into his pocket.
You don't mind, right? I figured you and Clover would get up here right away.
What about the rest?
Besides, I thought it'd be best to get this done soon before you lose your nerve. I don't know about you, I'm really looking forward to the next round.
I glanced over around the warehouse. Alice and Kay were back, as was Fire, and of course Clover. Where are Temryuji and the rest of them?
They're in the infirmary.
We carried Quark to one of the beds. Tenmyoji and Luna are looking after him.
I see.
How's he doing? Well, it's hard to say. He seems to be sleeping soundly, but beyond that, there's really no way to know.
No change then, huh?
Right. So what was your rune, Sigma?
A laboratory.
Is that so?
Did it look like the kind of place where they'd be researching viruses and DNA and those kinds of things?
Very much so.
Yeah, it did. Was there any of that Excelavir?
Yes?
Don't tell those other idiots that you found some Excelavir in here. I hear one word about it, and the next thing you hear will be little bits of glass shattering on the floor.
My eyes flickered to Dio for a moment. No, nothing. Beside me, Clover bit her lip.
I see.
So how'd it go with you? Find anything interesting? Fire only shook her head. With a unison of movement that almost looked choreographed, Alice and Kay shrugged.
Where does that leave us? We've still got about 40 minutes left until voting ends.
What are you gonna do?
I'm a little curious about that lab you found. I thought I might go take a peek at it.
I'll show you the way then.
That would be wonderful.
I think I'll go have a look at the room Alice, Kay, and Tenmyoji found. Never know. Maybe you missed something. Perhaps there's some Excelavir hidden somewhere in there.
Once you're in there, it will be hidden in there, won't it? Yeah. What a bastard.
Then I shall take you there.
What about you two? Where are you going?
I'll Well, I think I'll start by heading over to the infirmary to see how Quark's doing.
Then I will too.
Glad that's settled.
She nodded to Clover as they disappeared through the magenta door. Dio and Kay followed a few steps behind. Okay then. Guess we should be going too.
Hold on. Show me that journal first.
Uh,
Dio told me about it.
Really?
You wouldn't tell me anything about the lab except that you found a journal with, his words, some sort of bullshit language. He said you had it, so I was hoping I could take a look.
He's not wrong though. Some language. Yeah. One sec. I dug the journal out of my pocket and handed it to Fi. She began to flip through the pages, her eyes quickly scanning each one.
This is Latin.
Latin? You mean you can read it?
Yeah, with time and a dictionary.
So in other words, no.
Pardon me for not being able to translate a dead language on the fly. This looks like some kind of research log. It's not gonna be some sort of, I took the dog for a walk today. It was nice kind of stuff. I can understand a little of it, mostly conjunctions and things like that. But most of these words I've never even seen before.
Fi started to leaf through the book again as she spoke. Then suddenly she stopped.
Wait. I can read this one. Page 216. This isn't research notes. It looks like a personal entry.
What's it say?
Don't rush me. This is gonna take a minute. Interesting. All right, I think I got it. It looks like they're talking about Radical 6.
What? Why are they talking about that?
Not sure. Let me read it to you. Keep in mind I'm paraphrasing.
When the body is infected with Radical 6, the processing speed of the brain is reduced. If we assume the brain currently operates on a 1-1 basis with regards to time, Radical 6 reduces this to 1 to the square root of 1/6. So, or approximately 1 to 0.408. This means that for each second that passes outside, the patient feels that only almost half a second has passed inside. Therefore, when 1 second has passed inside, approximately 2.45 seconds, or 1/6 seconds, but that isn't square root of 6. That doesn't make sense. Unless I'm just not understanding the maths there. Have passed outside. In other words, when 10 seconds pass in the real world, a patient infected with Radical 6 would feel as if only 4 seconds had passed. This is why the virus has been termed Radical 6. Radical is another term for what is also known as the root operation, the function inverse to the taking of a power. In a less mathematical sense, it can also be used to refer to something that is extreme or severe. Those infected by Radical 6 eventually develop a powerful urge to commit suicide, which we've seen in Alice a few times and Quark a few times. The exact cause of this is unclear, and although there is as of yet no direct link between between suicide urges and the reduction in mental processing speed, many believe that they are not unrelated. Those infected with Radical 6 perceive the world to be moving at a fever pitch, as if it were a video cassette being fast forwarded. For instance, although the patient believes that only 10 seconds have passed, in fact 24.5 seconds have passed. Given this increased speed of input, maintaining the ability to observe and reason would become a Herculean task. One theory holds that the disparity in time perception causes the brain to be flooded with massive amounts of information. Unable to keep up, it begins to fail. Whatever the cause, the infected invariably attempt to take their own lives, which is arguably the most terrifying aspect of this virus. Research suggests that a targeted antiviral could kill or at least disable Radical 6, but we have been unable to develop one. What about Xelavir? It seems our best hope now is to harvest antibodies from someone with a natural immunity to the virus. Thus far, however, we have been unable to locate a suitable subject, so I have continued my efforts to discover an alternative means of treatment. Given my current rate of progress, I predict that I will have a workable treatment within a decade or two. It is my fervent hope that humanity will be able to survive that long. The bodies of those dead from suicide are piled up along the roads leading into and out of town. Wow. The entire area reeks with the stench of decay, and the sky is filled with the constant buzzing of flies. At times their swarms are so thick that when one passes it feels as if a cloud has gone over the sun. Every day I see more crows and rats and are everywhere, feeding on the dead. Ironically, the only healthy looking creatures are the stray cats, who have grown fat on a plentiful rodent diet. The few humans who survived the outbreak have been locked away by the government in underground shelters. I don't know how many were saved, but I fear only a handful. Their survival is the only hope that remains for the human race. Oh Lord, please, let their future be a bright one. That's a lot of information. Now we know what the virus does to you though. If you get infected, your brain slows down by the root of 1/6. That's what, about 40%?
That isn't the important part. Those infected by Radical 6 eventually develop a powerful urge to commit suicide.
Yeah, you're right. That would explain why Quark was, well, trying to kill himself.
There are two other things in here that worry me. First, the part about how they haven't managed to develop a treatment for it yet. What do you make of that?
What am I supposed to make of it? Maybe they just hadn't found one when this journal was written. I mean, from what we know, there's a drug called Xelavir that cures it.
Exactly. But in the journal it says it might take 20 years to make something like that.
Hold on a second. I'm getting confused. When was this thing even written?
December 29th. No year.
Well, there's no way it was written this year.
Yeah, probably not. Anyway, moving on.
That means they've known about this virus, or we've been frozen for over a year, basically. Maybe the journal was written days after we got frozen, but we've been frozen for more than a year or something. Or days after we got kidnapped, we've been in suspended animation or frozen or something for at least a year before we were woken up and put in this situation.
The second concern I have is about the underground shelters it mentions. The newspaper article said something about quarantining people too. After we read it, we all thought the same thing. What if this was one of those quarantine facilities?
Yeah.
But this journal seems to suggest the opposite.
Yeah. The newspaper article was saying quarantining anyone infected, where this is saying the opposite, quarantine those that are not infected.
The few humans who survived the outbreak have been locked away by the government in underground shelters.
Yeah. You're trying to say that this place might be one of those underground shelters? Which would mean we're all supposed to be uninfected. We would have been thrown in here to keep us safe.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way to say for sure at this point, but it seems possible.
But Quark's been infected, right?
Then maybe the virus got in somehow.
That would be bad.
Just think about it for a minute. If this is one of those shelters, a lot of things start to make sense. Maybe we've been here for a long time.
That's what it sounds like if that date is correct.
Like, maybe they put us to sleep somehow.
Yeah.
Made us sleep for years, maybe even decades.
Yep.
While we were sleeping, the pandemic that the newspaper article talked about happened. And whoever had this journal made this entry.
And then once the antiviral treatment was finished, they woke us up.
Right. It's all just speculation, but...
No, that doesn't make sense. I mean, it seems like a pretty plausible scenario, but we were all captured before the pandemic started, right?
Yeah.
And how would they have put us to sleep for that long? How would they have known to do that? But most importantly, why the hell are we playing the Nonary game if the point of this place is to save us? Throwing a bunch of people into a game that might kill them is a pretty weird way to protect them from a pandemic.
Yeah, you're right.
See?
We don't have enough information to make any real conclusions. I think we should see if we can find anything else.
Fire had barely finished speaking before she took off for the magenta door. Hey, weren't you coming to the infirmary with me?
I've changed my mind. You can tell me about Quark later.
And with that, she was gone. What I don't get is Dio's not around to be able to hear, so why didn't we tell her that we found the Excelivir? But Dio's holding it ransom. Man. I let out a long, tired sigh and started off toward the infirmary. How's he doing?
He seems to be stable, as far as I can tell.
Still sleeping.
I see. Mind if I have a look?
Please, go ahead.
I made my way around the partition to see the side of Quark's bed. The journal and the thing Fi and I had talked about would definitely need to be addressed. But for the moment, the AB game was what I needed to concentrate on. Lives were at stake, mine, and Quark's. Those infected by Radical 6 eventually develop a powerful urge to commit suicide. If the journal was telling the truth, then as soon as the anesthetic wore off, Quark would go insane again. What if we weren't able to restrain him a second time? What if he managed to kill himself before we got to him? Or perhaps he'd just get out of the infirmary and go hide somewhere. On the other hand, it wasn't like we could keep anesthetizing him forever. I can't even read it. Anesthetizing. Nah. There was only one way to save Quark, and that was with Excelsior. Unfortunately, Dio had stolen it. If we wanted to get it back, Clover and I would have to vote ally. But if I did, there was an excellent chance I would end up dead. The question was then, what do I do? Sacrifice myself to save Quark? Or keep quiet about the danger he was in to save myself? It was so faint I almost didn't hear it.
Grandpa. Grandpa.
He shifted a little, then fell silent again. It was enough though. What on earth had I been thinking? How could I have even considered letting a child die in my place? Suddenly, my cheeks felt hot with embarrassment and disgust. That I had considered letting Quark die, even for a minute, was pathetic. There was only one choice. There had only ever been one choice. No way I was going to leave Quark to die. My hands tightened into fists as I looked down at him. Any certainty I'd felt before was gone. I knew what I had to do. Hey Pickles, how you doing?
10 minutes remain until Ambidex game polling closes. All players, please enter your votes. If no vote is recorded before the deadline has passed, any non-voting parties will automatically ally. Results will be displayed in the warehouse.
I'm not doing too bad. I've been put in a bit of a tight situation by Dio here. Quark is infected with Radical 6, which causes you to commit suicide in the end. In the last escape room we were in, we did find a vial of Excelsior, but Dio stole it from us and said, if you say anything before voting is done about finding it, he'll break the vial and we'll only get it back after voting if we vote ally. So basically he's telling us if we betray Dio in this vote, Quark's gonna commit suicide. On the other hand, we've only got 1 BP. So if we lose 2 BP, we die. And if we go ally and Dio betrays us, I'll lose 2 BP, so I'll die. So essentially choosing ally or betray for Dio is actually choosing if we're gonna die or Quark's gonna die. So we're in a bit of a conundrum here. Right up until Dio... Yes. Right up until Dio put us in this situation, I was always firmly... I would betray everyone first and then go back and do allies, except for Dio, which I wanted to betray at the time. And then he's put us in this situation. So I really don't know which one will be the better way to go. Ally or betray. betray is the shorter path. So I'm thinking, if we betray first, it will be the worst option, and the allying will be the better one in the long run. But yeah,